Okay, it seems we have reached the end of the road. After multiple videos, interviews, hours of presenting sourced facts, historical analysis and eyewitness testimony, it seems not even a single meaningful rebuttal has been offered by the man we've all come to know so affectionately as Snakio. No evidence, no clarification and no correction. Just more smoke and mirrors and the same tired deflections. There's no need to drag this out, so let's have a little recap. I provided evidence for Snakio fabricating the connection between Ermei and Wing Chun. His claims to having some kind of high-level ability and knowledge of this Ermei 12 Zhang, but when pressed on who was his real instructor, he deflects and avoids answering directly. That his claims of the history of internal martial arts are rooted in fiction and not verifiable fact, thus demonstrating his lack of knowledge and understanding of how Chinese martial arts had developed throughout the centuries. That his alleged proficiency in Wing Chun, a style where he had claimed to have completed the syllabus to its fullest many times before, is contradicted by his own sources and a fact highlighted by his inability to see the difference between the snake arm side motions during the Ermei 12 Zhang and the arm motions as performed in the UK Sam forms, thus exposing his lack of technical understanding on both systems. That his persistent calls to authority in things like being a high-level student or an instructor of the Fujian White Crane system as taught by Lei Gong are unsupported and unfounded by Lei Gong himself. That despite his claims of wanting to preserve and spread the traditional Chinese martial arts, he in fact goes around and barely learns from other systems and styles, then goes ahead and teaches them without permission or authority from those lineages. And not only that, takes this half knowledge and then blends them all together along with other martial art styles such as Sistema into making his own 1700s Wing Chun, his own invention, and tries to pass that off as some kind of original style, thereby not preserving or spreading anything traditional and instead doing more damage to these treasures that we've got from the East. That he publicly denied teaching snake crane Wing Chun, a style that he had barely learned, and then when called out on it, attempted to try a historical retcon, thereby showing a pattern of behavior and his true character. That he claims to want to be this positive force within the traditional Chinese martial arts, but then can't help but display his toxic behaviors, such as passive-aggressive dig videos to people such as Eleanor when they start to get some traction online, or saving messages between practitioners and manipulating them to try and get them to argue amongst each other for his own twisted motives. I called the Snake Oil Salesman out on these directly, and how did he respond? Not with clarity, no evidence, but with strategic ambiguity and manipulation, using the tired tactics of narrative flooding, performative victimhood, diagnostic shielding, and strawman arguments. He even went as far as to blame his erratic behaviors of having Asperger's, thereby weaponizing a neurodivergence to avoid any kind of accountability. When I asked him if he'd actually been diagnosed by a professional with this, tumbleweeds. And he even attempted his usual tactic of trying to shut people up by appealing to authority, stating that he had lived in China for 16 years and he knows things and understands things that other people don't. Aside from the fact that we debunked his 16 years narrative, there's also, the whole thing just fell flat anyway, because he shows zero grasp of the language, not even being able to order a simple cup of coffee. And not only that, he constantly and routinely disrespects the cultural norms in mainland China. So for anybody who's been following our respective response videos, it should be quite obvious by now and easy for you guys to do the math. You see, if the truth were on his side, we'd have seen point-by-point rebuttals by now. Instead, we got none. What we did get was accusations of being jealous that me and people like the Kung Fu Genius were so jealous of the Snake Oil Salesman, despite us being successful in our own right and far more successful in particular aspects of martial arts than this gentleman. We were then subjected to empty claims and deflections that others were stirring trouble. This was with no receipt and no proof. Just another distraction so that the attention went off him and that he could avoid any kind of accountability for his actions. He even went as far as to deny the fact that I had created a logo for him in 2003 on the back of a napkin in a cafe in Amsterdam. What made this counterclaim of his truly bizarre is that he got one of his acolytes from yesteryear to come and lie on his behalf about what happened. The interesting thing about this particular lie is that I had addressed many of his claims and then asked him specific questions in the video before that. And of all the things that he decided to focus on, he put all of his energies into the least important claim that I made, and then just blatantly lied about it as well. I mean, that should really tell you everything about this guy. So what was originally just a simple talk about Wing Chun and its history on the Kung Fu Genius podcast had turned into something where the Snake Oil Salesman attempted to pressure me and control the narrative by flooding everybody with his version of events and videos, purely because I had said something different to what he was saying. So it became less about history and more about credibility and about intellectual honesty and most of all integrity in martial arts, which is an important aspect of this community, or at least it should be, because it seems that many have been misled for far too long. Snakio postures as this historian of traditional martial arts, but let's unpack that quickly as well. His inability to answer any of the things I laid out in front of him demonstrates very clearly he doesn't understand the research process and is often parroting the research of others such as Wayne Young or Hendrik Santo, but without even verifying their claims. He even tells on himself in one of his videos that when he was approached by Kenneth Lin of the Black Flag, it was a simple conversation plus a couple of pages from a book that convinced him of Lin's story. That either makes him gullible or not fit to be a researcher on this or any other subject. And he can't really be gullible because that word's taken out of the dictionary. Most importantly, I think, is the fact that he won't engage in any kind of live debate, even though I've offered to many a time. I think that's because he knows how that will turn out. He'll be forced to engage on an academic level, as best as I can do it anyway, and then we'll just have to present data on our arguments, and then everybody will be able to see the truth. Along with avoiding any kind of live debate, he champions the fact that he offers anybody to come down and cross hands with him because the energy never lies. But when I took him up on that offer, he quickly, let's say, changed his mind and elected to threaten to call the authorities rather than face me in person. This showed another side of his character that really paints a full picture about the Snake Oil Salesman. Throughout all of this, despite the Snake Oil Salesman misleading and misrepresenting information on his videos and the slanderous behavior of them and behind my back, I've attempted to stay grounded. I've tried to cite sources, interviewed people, and presented evidence to anybody who wished to see it. He's done none of that, and that's very telling. One of the most important things that's come of this video series has been the fact that people have had the confidence now to come forward, whether it be on social media or YouTube, and definitely in private, to share stories of the manipulation, exploitation, and disillusionment they had when engaging and interacting with the character known as Snakio. For some people, the simple fact of just getting the story off of their chest and putting it on video and knowing that there's a record of it has been quite cathartic to some people. So, it's been, in some respects, very, very positive. An exciting aspect, at least for me, is that independent researchers are now asking far better questions and challenging the narratives they once accepted. This can only be good for the development and future of Wing Chun Kien. So for me, this was never about ego and to find out who was right and who was wrong, but rather about cleaning house, shining the light on truth on certain individuals and historical facts, so we can have a better idea of who we are and who's within our community, so we can see any kind of nefarious and negative forces coming towards us to try and swindle us out of hard-earned money and training time, because in the end, time is the most important thing. And I don't know about anybody else, but I won't have mine wasted by people with their own nefarious motives. Where does this leave us when we're talking about the Snake Oil Salesman? Well, he had his chance, he had a platform, he had time, and he responded with only silence. Not because he was above it, but because he had no answer. No rebuttal, no receipts, and no sources. Only vagueness, misdirection, and the occasional self-pitying monologue. Whether Snakio admits it or not, by the very fact that he was unable to provide any direct rebuttal to any of the claims or the things that I pulled him on, is him conceding. To those who are still loyal to the Snake Oil Salesman, you're not foolish, you're loyal. This is something to be respected. But loyalty only matters when it's given someone worthy of it. To everybody else, thank you for listening, for questioning, for refusing to swallow the recycled myths from someone who hasn't been able to defend a single claim unchallenged. So to wrap up, I know that there are some individuals that would like me to go biblical on the Snake Oil Salesman, just release all the information and bury him, but it's not in my interest to do that. I have no hate towards this individual. This was just merely a response to his claims and his attempts to slander and spread misinformation. I think the facts speak for themselves, and people, you're adults. You can make your own decisions from here. I will say, however, that if this individual attempts to misinform the public or slander either me or my friends or people that I care about ever again, then I may change my mind and in fact redouble my efforts on letting everybody know exactly what kind of character the Snake Oil Salesman really is. The files are public, the sources are cited, and the record is clear. Energy never lies, but Snakio always will.